Hello, hello, my loves, and this is EQ with Jah. I'm Juwan, your wonderful host. Riddle me this: is a turtle still a turtle if it doesn't have its shell? I mean, what is the shell really? It's the protective outer coating. It helps the turtle not get eaten by predators. It helps the turtle stay warm and dry and different types of weather increments and all that stuff. And basically, it's just the shell. Ah, do you see where I'm going with this? Treat the body as the tortoise shell. The body is just the body. The body is not going to become offended because the turtle went into the shell. The shell knows that its point of entry is protection of the tortoise, which is the soft inner side, the living creation thing that came and lives its life and just does everything based on whatever a tortoise does all day. The analogy that I'm tying to this is your body represents that shell. Your body is only meant to protect you from the environment. Your body is only meant to help you get around to fulfill your daily happenings, such as the tortoise. The shell is only there to protect it because it has a soft body and everything would eat it. So, hey, Mother Nature helped it with its genetics and gave it the evolution of having a shell so that doesn't happen. That being said, the tortoise is not going to get offended if a rock hits the shell. It knows that the shell is meant to protect it. This is the same of your ego and your body. It doesn't matter what's going on in this outside world. It doesn't matter what someone says to you. Let it bounce off of you, just like that shell. Because right inside that shell, the tortoise is still safe. The tortoise is still the tortoise. It hasn't stopped being a turtle. It hasn't stopped being who it is. It just has a different way of protecting itself from the environment. We have to learn how to align our bodies with the same type of protection. The soul itself is the tortoise. The soul picked this body. It's deciding to do whatever journey it needs to go through and work through whatever energy it needs to go through. The ego cannot become offended by the soul's work. What does that mean? Here's a lesson in self-actualization. If I, Jawan, understand that I was born into an energy of this world that existed prior to me, that many scientists and experiments have proven before about genetics and all that, la da 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 da. So I know that my body is that. But then that one thing that they're still trying to explain, which is black matter life, this thing of existence that comes out of nowhere, it has its own path. It has its own journey. So for me, Jawan, to ever be offended by another person or another circumstance or a situation outside of me to feel like it's personally attacking me, then I'm getting lost in the 3D translation. Sometimes there's going to be people who come into your life, there's going to be situations that come into your life to remind you that you have a bigger purpose and a bigger journey and much more of a functionality than just waking up every day to do this 9 to 5 thing we have done for so long. And finally, we have the opportunity to recognize that that's not living. We actually see how we can live now without stopping who we are in the soul growth process or in the ego growth process. Like me, Jawan, yes, I want to be someone who's able to help and articulate thoughts in a way that most people don't stop to think about. The soul's journey, it's on a whole nother path. My soul's journey, it wants to help everyone understand emotional intelligence to the level that they can do their own soul work and shadow work without needing to resort to drugs or violence or weird insecurities that were imprinted on us by our parents or generational curses or ancestral beliefs or political stand. All that stuff was given to us. Whatever falls on that shell can be crusted over in sea gunk and crap and dirt. But when you go and wash it off with a power hose, that shell is as beautiful, as intricate as it wants to be. Nothing changed it. It doesn't matter if a freaking whole, what do you want to call it, a whole colony of whatever types of bugs decided to live on that shell. Once the turtle decided to either go through a fast moving stream that washes it all away or the rain comes down and knocks it all away, The shell is still the shell. This is the same of you and your person. If someone comes to me and talks to me about Juan, like, Juan, I feel like you're like this and you need to work on this. Cool. That's someone's opinion of the outside reflection of my energy work working through this vessel, which is my body. Me, Juwan, I'm not personally offended. I don't know you. If I know you, okay, whatever. If you don't understand me by this point in our friendship or understanding of our relationship, that's another oh to hell well. But for me to know that if the soul is connected to that person and the soul needed to hear that moment, that's going to be an activation. And the soul's like, aha. May it be a aha or a trigger, which is a, who do you think you are talking to me that way? That's the soul being triggered. Me, Juwan, I don't care. Judge me all day. Again, without a mirror reflection of someone telling me, I have no idea what I look like. So I don't get offended by people not knowing who I am. I think my soul feels offended when it feels like it has to explain itself through who Juwan is, but Juwan doesn't care. The soul, it yearns for the collective the collective consciousness and that connection of community and the people around us to bring us all together. Don't get me wrong, I care about people, but I don't care about someone else's projection of their journey onto me. Whatever journey you're going through, that is your shell work. That is your ego work. That is your vessel's job to go through all of the crap in this life that is out there. It's the same difference I always use with a car. If you got a car that can't drive through snow, baby, then it's time to upgrade your tires. It's time to upgrade your car. It's time to upgrade that power, that horsepower into the engine so that you can drive in snow. Same thing with your body. If you're doing things in your life that don't suit you, change it. Work out, eat better, do things that you used to do as a child that brought you true joy and happiness. These are the things that allows the soul to feel complete on its journey that's everlasting until we die, and for the ego to feel comfortable. Because when you make the ego comfortable, then it's willing to do more work for the soul, which is why we have this constant ebb and flow of, we think it's a fighting, but it's really a coming together to mold the two. Because when we walk into self-actualization, it's recognizing, this is the whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I remember a teacher saying, no human can ever reach that. Only Gandhi and people like Mother Teresa. Okay, I think every human being can reach self-actualization. We are built to reach self-actualization. So when you understand that my soul incarnated this body at the time of inception of my parents' intercourse and then just figure, oh, we're pregnant. That was the moment of my ego's birth. My soul picked this form. It picked this body. It picked this journey. Like, oh, you know what? I can do a lot with his body. I can do a lot of stuff with him. Yeah, I'm going to pick this one. I know that. There's times I wake up in the day and I'm like, this is not my energy. This is not even my thought. But I know and recognize that it comes from a conditioning that's beyond myself. That's why it's easy to look around at society and pay attention to the people who are replicating the patterns of behavior taught to them by way of the 3D imprinting. We talk like this, we walk like this, we act like this. This is what we do. Okay, I understand this. This is no different than walking into a corporate facility and knowing that people expect you to speak a certain way, act a certain way, and present yourself a certain way. Okay, that's just part of the presentation. That's just part of the vessel's journey of getting into the energy that it wants to be around. So if I know that I want to be in a corporate setting, then I know I have to adjust my ego to fit that setting. Does it change my soul? No. Does it change my thoughts about who I am? No. Some people it does. That's why we got to be careful with titles. But that moment of recognizing that who I am on this earth physically, it's not the journey I'm doing soulfully. Remember, we've only been here a short amount of years. Humans want so much because we know that this energy in this body only lasts so long. We've only tapped out at what's the oldest living person? Around 100 and, I don't know, 10, 11, something. We've been tapping out by then. I mean, they say back in the day people used to live longer. Based on the circumstances and all the things that they were eating, they probably had a much more pure diet, and the concentration of realness helped them last longer. So this is a real moment of thought. So when you want to really step outside of self, just remember, like, this is not my journey. This is the soul's journey. But my functionality as the ego, my purpose is to help generate awareness, to help give things a voice that don't have a voice, to help be a part of being a facilitator that bridges what I call the water and the earth. That's the spiritual realm and this earthly realm. You know what I mean? There's that moment of, we all have the times, just like that turtle. There's not many animals that can go and live in the water and live on earth. Those animals are constantly living in the spirit realm and in the 3D realm, because the spirit realm in water, there's things that live down there. Again, we have no idea what's under the sea or what's in a deep, 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 dark pool of water and how it operates. But we do know that living creatures for centuries have been born out of the pool of life of water, and it has come onto this earth and found ways to develop and find out how to adapt. That's all the body's meant to do, is adapt. Because the soul's journey may have been billions of years or just a couple of years. The soul has to come back and repeat a lot of different patterns and a lot of different, what we call failures, that it didn't complete when it was on this earth at the time of incarnation. So when you get to a point of understanding that the soul work is only a calling. When you hear the calling is going to keep calling. And if you fight the calling, then it's going to make the ego miserable. So the ego has to learn how to let go and not get offended. The ego has to learn how to take feedback without get offended. The ego has to learn how to take people criticizing them, talk shit. That's why people crack under pressure when they get to bigger levels of attention, because the ego is not usually built for that. Summer Walker is the best example. She's a beautiful, beautiful, talented woman. She gets on stage and she's like, I'm not used to this. At home, I can belt it out. I'm not used to being in front of this many people, because the ego's journey was probably not that. But the soul's like, baby, my journey and purpose is much bigger than your ego's pride. We getting on that stage. And for her to say, you know what? You're correct, soul. It's not about me. It's about the gift that I'm giving back to others. And people get to see all interchangeable aspects of her ego and her soul working together, which takes her to her trifecta of the self-actualization, which then walks you into that moment of, remember, this triangle, this is sacred geometry, and then the unfolding begins. In order to get to, again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs went from that pyramid up. It's a very linear way of explaining that we go through the physiology of what the body needs. When we understand what the body needs and how the body operates, it's no longer about the body or the ego or whatever name or skin color I was given. It's about the stuff that comes out of my head, the creation space that's been given to me by spirit before I knew anything else on this earth. Then when you walk into that spirit work wholeheartedly and you document and you write and you speak and you put yourself out there in an authentic way, spirit then bestows you that gift of knowing that my ego is not my ego, my soul is only on the journey, but the spirit work, that's when we get to combine and say, I am all three. I am the body, mind, and spirit at all times. And when I'm able to do that work, I get to feel that love, and we get to walk into our truest form of divinity. So do not get stuck on believing that everything that people say is all like happy-go-lucky spiritual work. Spiritual work is hard. It's a long, lonely journey. But if you really want to get to a place of self-actualization, it does take in the time to be a hermit, to go back into that shell, to make sure that you get yourself right while the shell protects you from the outside environment. But when you get yourself right, it is your job to move that shell to a place that's safe so it feels protected. This is the basic breakdown of masculine, feminine energy. Once you plant that seed, the masculine work has been done until it's time to reap the soil or to bear that fruit. The creative space from the darkness of the roots up into the fruit of the trees and the seeds, that's the creative space of nature. But just like all things, we have to work together to adapt to what our bodies are really meant to do on this earth and find the purposefulness of our functionality and our soul work that gets us back to center, that gets us connected to spirit, that allows us to work in these realms of the unknown and expand upon the consciousness of the human being. And then we can walk into grace knowing that we are only something that's here to be an expression of free energy, authenticity, and genuine agape love. All right, guys, I love you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Stay aligned, pay attention, and walk into your divinity. I love you guys. Mwah.